Hey guys, can you guys hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Hi, Steph. Good to see
How
you.
are
It's
you
Mike.
guys? Thank you
Good.
for
How are
joining
you?
me, Mike. How you been?
I'm doing good. How are you today?
Good, good. Are you excited? Excited to learn
Ab-
about ADUs?
Absolutely.
Awesome. What's up, Jeffrey? How are you?
What's up, Steph? How's
What's
everything?
up, guys? Oh my God, thank you guys. Thanks everybody who's just now joining us. I'm gonna hold off maybe a minute or two and then get started. I really want to thank everybody who's joining us today. And I hope that you guys learn, who doesn't want to spend an hour of their time learning about real estate? Right? Fun topics. So I'm really gonna try to do my best to break it down so where you guys can digest it and really figure out how to implement the strategy. And I'm really going to take it down to some basics. I'm going to kind of oversee and kind of refer you guys back to some of the other ADU webinars that I've done in the past. And then we'll kind of tie it all into how it pertains to some of the stuff that I've been putting on Instagram, also on my YouTube channel. As you guys know, I also have a podcast, so I'll share a little bit about that. But I'm going to go ahead and get started now. And like I said, I really want to be mindful of people's time. So I'm going to try to get you guys out of here in the next hour. I'll spend about a good 20 minutes explaining this whole ADU 101 concept. And I'm welcome, to any, if you guys have any questions, feel free to add them in the group chat. Or you guys can wait towards the end. We'll do like a 15-minute Q&A. I have a special guest, which is Jeffrey. And Jeffrey is going to go ahead and explain a lot of the solar panel benefits and just solar in general. He's going to educate us, give us, some info on that, but I'll go ahead and hold off on that one. So let me go ahead and share the screen here. And let me go on to the presentation. So for those of you guys who don't know what an ADU is, it's basically what we used to call like casitas, rumpus rooms, back houses. There's so many different terminologies for it, but right now, what it basically is an accessory dwelling unit. Now, here in California, you can basically build up to 1,200 square feet in most cases. You want to make sure that you connect with your local jurisdiction, local ordinance, figure out those zoning laws, and yeah, vet everything. All the information that I give you guys today, make sure you guys vet it, because I am not, this is all just case studies and experience. I work with a lot of homeowners on a day-to-day basis. And so all of this is just a collective of information that I've gathered throughout the last couple of years. And so what we're going to talk about today is what's an ADU, what are the different types of ADUs, what a client consultation kind of looks like, and I'll walk you guys through that process, and give you guys a case study of how one of my clients was able to implement the strategy, why and how we can implement the strategy, what are some financing options. At the last webinar that I did, I talked about some White House updates, and I'll kind of briefly go over that as well. And then why ADUs, things to consider. And then obviously our special guest, again, Jeffrey, can't thank you enough for being here. So, all right, guys. So, all right. So as I said, this is basically what an ADU is. And sorry, guys, bear with me because I'm making sure that everybody's being admitted. So I'll keep that there. Move that there. Is this blocking your guys' view? Are you guys able to see this? All right, cool. So an ADU is a secondary housing, as I mentioned. It's this goes for residential and multifamily, and the term is accessory dwelling units, right? So it's literally what I just talked about right now. And I just kind of wanted to break it down for those of you guys who don't know. I know some of you guys that are here today don't know what an ADU is. Now, there's different types of ADUs here in California. It's such a popular thing, and I'll break it down as to why. I mean, a lot of it has to do with the housing shortage, the fact that there isn't enough inventory, and people are trying to get creative with the space, right? So there's different types of ADUs. There's what you call a junior ADU, which is anything under 500 square feet. This has to be attached to the primary dwelling unit, right? So you want to take that into consideration when you're identifying these properties. You also have what's called a detached garage, a detached ADU. You also have just a regular ADU, right? That could be a detached ADU, a brand new ground up construction project. And then you have what's called the garage accessory dwelling unit, which is a very common one here in LA. You got a lot of garage conversions happening because again, people need to get creative with the space that we currently have. So here I kind of laid out, you know, in a picture what these different ADUs look like. For the most part, they're like in the back of the unit, the primary dwelling. But some people I've seen get creative, and I posted one on my Instagram, which what they did was they actually did the ADU in front of the house. So I thought that was pretty dope. You can get creative as long as you're within those density and those setback requirements. So things to consider is something that I'm also going to tap into. So about the case study, I have a client, her name's Steph, and it's actually funny because we share the same name. But with Steph and her husband, I sold her a house about, this was prior to COVID, so now almost like 3 years, 3 years ago. And give me a second. All right, welcome Mario. And I've got some experts in the room that are also listening. So when we get to the Q&A, I'd like for some of them to join in and ask and answer any of your guys' questions. But back to the case study. So with my client Steph, when I sold her the house, she started following me on Instagram. I started positioning myself as the ADU realtor because I felt like there was a lack in the space. There weren't enough realtors talking about it or even understanding the process. So that's kind of what led me into it. I was working with my brother's team. My brother's also a realtor, and my cousin who's on his team, and I got a lot of realtors in the family. So we basically we're working with a lot of buyers, and every single buyer would ask me like, hey, what can I do with my backyard? What can I do with this space? How can I offset my mortgage? You know, as you guys know, a lot of the average mortgage payment here, I'll show you guys. This was when she bought it. So it's actually almost going on 3 years ago, but she bought it for $550. This same house right now is probably worth like $720, and we're not even considering what she's working on, which is so her payment was $3,000, and that's pretty average, right? For the average homeowner here in California, you're paying somewhere between $3,000 to $3,400 a month. And so how can you offset your mortgage and start thinking more like an investor rather than a first-time home buyer? Because this market is super competitive, right? So you got to get creative as to how you look at the property. And that's part of my mission today too, is help you like think about the strategy, and you'll start looking at properties differently. You know, you start looking at the opportunity. And so this one here, I like to call it the SFR to triplex real quick, because her house went from an SFR to a triplex real quick. And the way she did that was when I sold her the house, the detached garage had an addition, which was a storage, about another 250 square feet. And the garage itself was about like 600 or a little under that. So all in all, the back unit, the garage is going to be converted into a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, rented out for $2,500. The junior ADU, which was going to be the master bedroom and master bathroom, was going to be rented out for $1,200. And now the main unit, which was originally a 3-2, is now going to be a 2-1, and that will also be rented out for $2,500. So if you do the math, right, her front unit will now be renting for $2,500, or actually she'll be paying that because she hasn't moved out yet. She was looking of definitely refinancing and then repeating the process over, but she will now have her ideal payment, which is $2,500, and she gets to generate income at the same time, right? By renting out the junior ADU for $1,200, and this is in Wilmington. So this isn't even like, you know, you have to definitely know your market. It can be rented out for probably higher in other markets, you know? So look at the rental ordinance for sure, and then check out how much. I know that LA City has an Accelerator program, which basically what they do is they help the elderly. So if you have a permitted ADU, they'll rent it from you, and they've laid out how much they'll, you know, rent out for the 1-bedroom, the 2-bedroom, and the 3-bedroom, and it's around this price range. So that's a case study here as to how powerful the strategy is, right? Because now she gets to live in her house, have the comfortable payment that she's looking for, and she's generating cash flow. She's going to save that money. Then she's going to refinance it. You want to have somebody come out and evaluate this property. And that's one thing that we'll touch on as well, is that, you know, appraisers aren't taking them into consideration just yet. And that's something that needs to change. And I think eventually it will. So going to that topic, one of the things that I talked about last time was the recent White House webinar. So the White House dedicated a webinar to ADUs strictly, and they talked about, you know, some new updates that they're looking to implement, which is why I think this strategy will eventually go nationwide, and everybody's going to be talking about it. I know I've talked to certain experts in other markets that are now like, you know, looking at the idea of building an ADU. I actually posted one yesterday on my story, and it was out in Minneapolis. So you have, you know, a lot of other states that are going to catch on. California has been doing an amazing job at leading the way and kind of paving that. So between 2018 and 2020, there have been over 23,000 ADUs built. There have been 34,000 permitted. And as you guys can see, depending on where you're at, there's different, you know, ADUs that are more popular. And so here's kind of a map which shows, you know, some ADUs work in some regions and some work in others. I'll give you an example. I have a friend, Jen, she might be on this call or might not, but she specializes in ADUs out in Portland. And out in Portland, you have more basement conversions because that's more popular. Here, you're not going to see a lot of basement conversions. You're going to see a lot of garage conversions. So when you're looking at properties that you think you want to invest in, look at that, right? Look at a detached garage. You can start there as an investor and see how much it's going to cost, you know, to convert that space, get connected with some GCs. And I'm more than happy to connect you guys with that, because that's the purpose of my podcast as well is to curate a space for people who want to tap into ADUs, right? So yeah, I mean, it's insane how many ADUs have been built between these last 2 years. So just a matter of time before people start really taking them into consideration. They also talked about, you know, they showed in this graph here why most of them are being built. And so it's a lot of what I've been seeing when I meet with some of these homeowners. Some of them want to downgrade. They want to live in the ADU because one, is going to be new. It's going to be ready to go with their finishes, their lifestyle. It's really a lifestyle move sometimes, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to live there and then rent out the front unit. And then I'll have less, you know, more time to travel, less time, you know, to have to worry about the bills and kind of downsize now that the kids have moved out. Or maybe you have kids and you've got like that older kid that wants his own space, then he can build, you know, that ADU. And so they talked about it here and kind of broke it down: long-term home equity, short-term, you know, and different ways that people are, or different motivation as to why some of these people are building them. They also talked about financing, because one of the things I've seen that most people struggle with is the financing part of it. There's a lot of HELOC options, cash out refis, you know, cash savings. You can tap into your 401k, your IRA, things like that. But there isn't a specific ADU loan product just yet. So they talked about having FHA, Fannie Mae, and Freddie Mac, you know, take this into consideration and figure out some sort of leniency or have some sort of renovation construction loan available to potential investors, right? Or potential homeowners that are looking to tap into this equity so that they can build and kind of make it a better and more streamlined process. So overall, and so, like I said, you definitely want to check with your local ordinance and verify all the information that I'm providing to you guys today. Again, these are some of the cash out, you know, cash out refi, HELOC loan, construction loan. These are some of the financing options that I see people doing. And they have talked about an ADU loan product coming soon. So I'll keep you guys posted with that. Now let's get to the fun part, which is how do I implement this strategy? And part of my mission as well is that there's nobody doing like what I'm doing. So I'm kind of just like on the flow, freestyling, trying to figure out my way in the space as an ADU realtor, because you don't see many of them. There's a handful of us, you know, that I can relate to or like give a call to and cross-reference information and figure out our network. And what do you know? What have you seen that's new? You know, it's a very small niche, but it's something that's so popular here in California that I say, let's bring this onto realtors, radar. Let's bring this strategy to their radar. I get a lot of realtors that DM me, they don't understand the process. They don't even know what an ADU is. So I welcome people to come in and let's start educating realtors, right, on the process. And then also use your resources. Like as realtors, you think you don't know as much as you do, but we talk to people on the daily. And so we have a team already. Tap into that network and find out who your architect is, who your structural engineer is going to be, who your developer is going to be, who's like your go-to people, right? Just like as a realtor, we've got our escrow officer, title officer, lender, transaction coordinator. That's our team, right? So then you've got to build the same bubble, the same network of people when it comes to ADUs. And instead of focusing so much on our commission, right, let's use that commission to invest in ourselves. And then we also build our own ADUs. So that right there is one play, and I call it the ADU play. This is also a great strategy for buyers and investors, right? As a buyer, I get first-time home buyers who want to buy in this market. And let's be real, it's hard. Like, it's not, this shit is not easy, right? You need to have a lot of patience, a lot of tenacity, a lot of grit. You're going to be like rejected. There's a lot of buyer frustration because there's 20, 30 offers on each property and only one person is getting the home. And you got 29 people walking away mad and frustrated. So then what I do is I tell them, hey, why don't we look at the ADU strategy? Why don't we look at properties in a higher price point, or look at the possibility of finding an off-market deal where we can build, convert, refinance, and then, rinse and repeat. And so that's also part of my value proposition as a realtor in the marketplace, right? Is that helping you think outside the box, and then it's not as scary to actually make the decision. Now, for potential sellers or current homeowners, it's a great strategy as well. I was talking to a seller yesterday. He's looking to list his house somewhere at 1.4. Which was pretty reasonable around the comps, that I saw. And he asked me, he's moving to North Carolina, and he asked, well, what can I do to maximize the sale of my home? And I said, well, marketing it as ADU potential, ADU ready, right? And if you're not in such a rush to sell, then maybe we even want to explore the option of selling it with pre-approved plans. That may be a strategy. Now people will pay probably 1.5, right? Like, we don't know. It's just a crazy market, but it's all about how you implement or market the strategy. Now, obviously, in certain neighborhoods, you're going to have more pushback. People aren't going to want to see like built ADUs on top of garages if you're in a coastal area, and I'll talk about that as well. But I want to be mindful of people's time. So I can, as you guys know, I'm passionate about the topic, and I can go on and on and on, but I want to be mindful of the time. So again, refer back to the 2 other ADU webinars that I have on my YouTube channel, which really, I kind of dove deep into the detail. And again, here's just some examples that I've also posted on my Instagram to show you guys what are some of the different reasons as to why people are building them, right? They want to simplify their life and have a tiny home, not have to worry about so much maintenance, overhead, and then cash flow. Some people want that long-term rental. You can also rent out to nurses, travel nurses. You can rent out to construction workers. You can do short-term rental, or you can do long-term, short-term rental. I actually personally like the, kind of like the 6 to 9 month stay, because I can still access my property, keep it updated. And, there's like, you can use sites like Airbnb, AirDNA to kind of calculate how much you would actually be able to produce off of these. The granny shacks, that's a popular one. I get a lot of clients who want their mom to live in their back house. There's different motivation for it. Actually, one of my friends, Jen, the one out in Portland, she just joined. So welcome, Jen. Thank you for being here. And she's awesome, you guys. You guys got to check her out. You kind of missed the part, Jen. I was talking about the whole basement and ADU stuff. You'll have to go back to the recording. But yeah, basements are like the thing out there, right, where she's at. So understanding your market, understanding what it is that's popular in your area, then that creates the opportunity as well. Again, just more ideas. People want it for a creative space. We talked about the boomerang child as well. We talked about the home upgrade. Just more examples, right, as to why people are doing this. How long are these projects? Now, I can be very vague with them because it all depends on your how quickly your area and your city moves, right? And your contractors and the people you choose to work with. I would say for plans and permits, somewhere between 2 to 4 months, 2 to 5 months, right? It really depends. How long are the actual build outs? Somewhere between 6 to 9 months. I recently filmed 2 with ADU West Coast. One of them took 10 months, the other one took 11 months, and they were both garage conversions. So, sometimes people have this misconception that because it's already there and it's already built, that it's super easy. But the delay sometimes is the municipalities, these local ordinances, and how quickly they move. So just take that into consideration as well. I have dedicated a podcast to real estate, all things ADU. I like to get every single person who comes through the podcast to give me their take on this ADU strategy. And I share it. I've shared client testimonials, people who have bought with me, sold with me, and then implemented the strategy. And it's a success, story. And every single one is very unique and very, like I said, there's different motives as to why, but I can go on and on as to why it's so good to implement the strategy. But I'm gonna wrap it up in the next few minutes so I can give Jeffrey the stage, because I really want to be mindful of everybody's time and get you guys out of here by 1 o'clock. If it goes a little bit over, it's totally fine. But I'll leave you guys with this. Everything that we talked about, it's super great, right? But you want to verify everything. You want to make sure that who you choose to work with really does matter. I get DMs from people who say, hey, I like crazy stories about working with contractors or working with developers who then kind of just left the job half done, or they're too busy. Because I'll tell you what, the good contractors are busy, right? And the ones that are giving you the low ball offer and that they're ready to go today, I'd be worried. Why are you so available? You know what I mean? That right there would raise a red flag. Let me see your site. Let me see your work. Let me go to your site. And I've done this, you guys. I've done all of this within the last 3 years. I've dedicated my time to create a network and of vetted people, because I was going to work with somebody in the industry who I thought was an expert and totally was not. And so that's kind of when I decided to take on the responsibility of educating myself, right? And being confident in what it is that I want to do. And now I want to help others. I want to help realtors. I want to help investors. I want to help people just think differently when we're thinking of investing. So one of the last things I like to say is things to look into, right? Things you want to consider. You want to definitely check your local ordinance. For the most part here in LA, there is no parking requirement, right? But you got to check with your local ordinance. There is the only parking requirement is that there's a transit within half a mile, which that's anywhere, right? That's basically anywhere here in LA. Some of the things that I've seen with clients is if you're in a fire zone, fire area, you've got to make sure that you stay within those guidelines and restrictions. If you're in a coastal zone, you're going to have to go through coastal commission. So take that into consideration. I had an appointment with a seller in PV in Palos Verdes. And after meeting with Andrew, who's a real estate developer, we met with him in person, and turns out that he wasn't in that coastal area. So he was still able to build a junior ADU and convert the garage. So that was pretty dope, because he didn't fall within that coastal area, although he was literally right down the street from the beach. But just things to consider. If you're gonna build or convert in an HOA, make sure that the HOA is actually up to speed with these rules and regulations and that they're familiar with the process. Otherwise, you're gonna have a lot of pushback from these HOA companies, right? If you're septic, it definitely will it's gonna elongate the process, because you've got to get that septic certification, right? So then what you're gonna have to do, and I'm here in LA, you don't see a lot of septic. In Riverside, you do. I don't know about Jen out in Portland if that's very popular, but I don't see a lot of septic here in LA. You see more just regular sewer, right? Alley access. Why? Because if there's any trenching that needs to get done, you want to make sure that you have access to the property. That can eliminate some cost. Also for utility access, if there's a power pole on the side where the garage is, you may not be able to build on top. And I'm also speaking from experience. I've had appointments with current sellers and homeowners who want to build on top of the garage to keep the integrity of the garage. But sometimes that power pole is there And if you want to reposition that power pole, it's going to cost you money. So you know, all these little things that you've got to take into consideration can quickly add up. If you don't have utility access, then now that's like another 10, 15, sometimes 20 grand. It all depends on what the project is looking like, because I'm talking at a very basic concept what an ADU is about, converting an existing space or adding. But there's people that are 10xing this ADU strategy. I recently did an interview with a real estate developer who is going to do a project near the SoFi Stadium in LA. And this is a 600 unit complex, 600 units. They're going to apply the multifamily ADU law, which allows for 25% density. So they're going to be able to add almost 200 ADUs to that 600 unit complex. Like, wow, I couldn't even process that. I was like, 600 units, you're gonna add 200. It's insane, right? So at a very basic level, I'm just like letting you guys know what I've seen on the residential side. These are some of the things, and even on the multifamily space, like utilities can get very expensive when you're talking multifamily and talking multiple ADUs. Taxes, anything, and again, talk to your CPA, but anything under 750 square feet, you won't have any additional tax assessments. If it's anything above that, then you will, and they'll reassess the addition or the conversion, right? But things to consider again. And then lastly, I've already mentioned who you decide to work with matters, but I want to leave you guys off before handing it over to Jeffrey is the solar panels. Solar panels will be needed for all new construction and is needed actually, but now that they're definitely going to get onto it come 2023. Every new construction, which means a new detached ADU, will need solar panels. So having somebody like Jeffrey as part of your team and even part of your network is essential. And we actually met recently. We did a podcast and he met my son at a development event. Again, we're out there putting ourselves as like the experts in the field, trying to vet certain people that we can help you, you know, so that we can come and help you guys better. And so with that, I'd like to welcome Jeffrey, and he's going to explain why it's very important, right? He's going to talk about the benefits. He's going to talk about the misconceptions and kind of just summarize it. He really helped me understand a lot about solar panels. So I hope that this brings a lot of value to you guys. And then we'll finish off with the Q&A. So please hang out, have your questions ready, and then we'll leave it there. Thank you, Jeffrey. Let me go ahead and stop sharing the screen, and hopefully you can share. And again, these are just my sites. These are some of the, and you guys are gonna get a copy of this, but I'll send you guys like the links. And the next one will be on the 13th. But again, I'll send you guys all of those details. So go ahead, Jeffrey. You should be able to share now.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, perfect. For some reason, I'm like, man, this is not working. Okay, cool.
You're good.
Awesome. Stephanie, thank you so much. Thank you for, first and foremost, man, this was amazing information on ADUs. I did not know about ADUs as much as I know now, right? So thank you for taking the time to break down every type of ADU. I thought it was just one type of ADU. So there's a lot of stuff that great information and a lot of, I could see how clients could benefit by creating this model for their home and creating us an extra stream of income. So huge. Thank you for sharing everything with us. With that said, again, thank you for giving me the opportunity of being on this platform and talking to your audience. It means a lot. A little bit about myself. I've been in the solar industry for about 1.5 years now. I work with UIS Energy, which is partnered with California Solar Guys. And one of the biggest things that I love, I'm big on the referral business. I'm big on creating network with people. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is by providing good business and providing good benefits for the consumers. So that's one of the things that our company stands by. We're big on the educational, right? When it comes to solar, there's a lot of good things with solar, but at the same time, there's a lot of bad things when it comes to solar. And our job is to expose the ugly side of solar. Whether they do solar with us or they don't, by the time they're done with us, they're going to know exactly how solar works and no one is going to be able to take advantage of them. So I'm going to jump right into it. I'm going to share Let me see, how do I do this? Entire screen. All right, guys, let me know if you guys can see my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, cool. So for some reason, I can't see you guys. Let me see. That's interesting. I don't see it right here. Okay, cool. Steph, what do you see? Do you see on the screen really quick?
I see the Eventbrite and I see
Oh.
your PowerPoint now.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
I don't think I'm gonna be able to see you guys. Hi. Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna jump right into it right here.
Cool.
Can you guys see it big now?
Yes, you're good.
Yeah. I don't see you guys, so bear with me. For some reason, I can't see any of you guys, so I just see the PowerPoint. So
Okay.
cool. That's exciting. All right, let's jump right into it. Real quick, guys. How many of you guys know how solar works or know anything about solar? I don't even see you guys, but here, let me see. Comment below real quick before I get into the PowerPoint. Yes, no, I don't know anything about solar. Yes, somehow, somewhat, I know about solar. No, nobody? Yes, Matthew, cool. Anybody else? No? So I'm gonna take it that you guys don't know anything about solar, don't know anything yet. Learning, awesome, Will. Just a little bit, Steph. All right, cool. All right, awesome. So I'm gonna talk to you guys a little bit of how solar works, right? So usually when we sit down with customers, our job is to explain everything again, the good, the bad, but more importantly, the ugly side of solar. So this is a diagram of exactly how solar works. This is an example of a house that has solar panels on the roof. These panels, they're made out of silicon electrons, right? And also tempered glass. Inside of it, it has silicon electrons. So these silicon electrons, as soon as the light starts hitting it, the X-rays of the sun, they start producing what is called DC current. That energy is the same energy that is running through all the power lines in your neighborhood, right? That's dirty energy. That energy, you cannot use it inside your home. So what we do, if you see on this photo, from number one, it drops down to number two, which is what we do is that we installed an inverter. That inverter literally filters the electricity from DC to AC, to alternative current, right? Which is clean energy. Clean power is the energy that you're able to use throughout your whole house, is the energy that is powering off right now this office where you guys live. So once it gets filtered, it goes into the main service panel, which is number three. And from there, now it gets distributed throughout your whole house, right? And one of the benefits of solar is that instead of you buying your electricity from Edison, right, getting it from the grid, your solar panels, they act as the source now. They're actually the source for you now. You eliminate the middleman, whether your electricity provider is Edison, LADWP, Anaheim Utility, Riverside Utility, right here in California, right? Whoever you're buying your power from now, we eliminate them, right? Why? Because the panels, your panels are not going to be producing all the electricity that you're going to be consuming on a daily basis. When we sit down with clients, one of the most important things is that we look at their last 12 months. We look at what they use and what they paid for what they use. That's very, very important because based on that information, we're going to be able to build the right system for them, right? I sit down with a lot of homeowners who have solar right now where they're paying their solar panels, right? They're paying their monthly payment on their solar panels. And at the end of the year, they get a bill from their electricity provider. And I've seen cases where they're spending $850, $1,000, $2,000, up to $3,000. So now keep in mind, this homeowner went solar. They purchased solar, but at the end of the year, they're paying their monthly payment on solar. And at the end of the year, they get a bill from Edison or from their utility company, their electricity company, right? The reason why that happens is because they skipped that step. When we sit down, we got to look at their last 12 months. Based on that information, it allows me to see how are their habits when it comes to electricity. How much are they using on a daily, on a weekly, on a monthly, on a yearly basis, in the winter, in the spring, in the fall, in the summer. That's very important information, right? Because based on that information, we'll be able to design the right system, right? And when we do that, customers benefit. Why? Because right now, on average, and as you've seen, everything is going up, the gas is going up, which means that electricity is going to continue going up. Average increase every single year is anywhere from 6 to 8% on your electricity, right? Average kilowatt hour that a customer is paying right now is anywhere from 28 cents. I've seen up to 44 cents per kilowatt hour. So what's a kilowatt hour, right? You guys are probably wondering, what is that? That's that's what a customer consumes on a daily basis of electricity. That's how much they're using from power from Edison or from their electricity provider, right? Average house spends anywhere from 500 to 600 kilowatt hours. The average, if we do the math, they're spending 28 cents, very conservative, right? If they're spending 28 cents per kilowatt hour, if we multiply it times 600 kilowatt hours that they're spending in a month, their bill is about $168 a month, right? By going solar, they're going to be able to drop down that rate. If we multiply that times $12, right now they're spending roughly about $2,000 for their electricity. Yesterday, I sat down with a homeowner right here in the city of Downey. His bill was actually about $160. He was spending roughly under $2,000 a month. What we did is that instead of throwing that money away, we redirected that money to pay for their solar panels, right? Not only that, but now he has a predictable bill. That's another great benefit when it comes to solar, because instead of having an unpredictable bill, right? You don't know what you're gonna pay until you get that bill at the end of the month. By going solar, you're gonna know exactly what you're gonna be paying on a monthly basis when it comes to a purchase and when it's done the right way, right? So now going back to this diagram, right? The system is gonna always produce more electricity than what you use during the day. You're gonna be consuming this, you're gonna be producing this much, and the system is gonna, and you're gonna be using this much during the day, right? So that excess that you're not using during the day, now you're gonna get it in the form of a credit with Edison or with your electricity provider, right? They benefit and when you're producing that electricity, because when you're not using it, if you see from number 4, it goes back into the main service panel. From the main service panel, now it goes into the meter, and from the meter, now it goes into the grid in a form of a credit, right? A lot of homeowners ask me, Jeffrey, when I go solar, if the power goes out in the neighborhood, will I still have power? And the answer is no, if you don't have a backup battery. If you have a backup battery or if you have a generator, that will kick in and will power your house. But if you just have solar panels and the power goes off in the neighborhood, you're going off with them because you're still connected to the grid. That's very important. A lot of people mislead homeowners. They're like, yeah, you're gonna have power because now you have solar panels. That's completely false. You need to have a backup battery or a generator so your power could, your home could stay power while there's no power in the neighborhood, right? So how does Edison benefit, right? Remember that during the day you're producing more electricity than what you're using. That excess that you're not producing during the day, they're selling it to your neighbors at retail price, and it did not cost them a dime to produce it, right? Now what you do is that you leverage them, right? You don't have a place to store it if you don't have a backup battery. So now it's going to go in the form of a credit to Edison. But at night, because what happens at night is that these panels, they're not going to work. They go night, they go to sleep. They're like, we're done working, right? We're going to come back tomorrow morning when the light comes back on, we'll start operating. But during the night, you're still going to need power. So now you're using your electricity company as a leverage, right? And it's the easiest way to explain it is now you're going to have a bank account of energy bank account with them, right? So during the day, whatever you're not using, you're storing it in your bank, and at night you start withdrawing from that bank on a everything that you're saving, whatever you're not using during the day, you start using it at night. During the day when the light comes back on, that savings comes back up. But again, very, very, very important. This happens when the system is designed the right way, right? So that's one of the reasons why, going back to what I mentioned earlier, when you sit down with someone, you got to make sure that they're designing the right system for you, right? They're looking at your last 12 months. Based on that, they're going to know your habits. They're going to be able to design the right system, right? Earlier, I mentioned that an average kilowatt hour per month that a household consumes is about 600 kilowatts. If we multiply that times 12 months, it gives us a total of 7,200 kilowatt hours, right? So an example, if we know that this homeowner is using 7,200 kilowatt hours in the year, if I want to eliminate all their costs when it comes to their electricity, I need to design minimum a system that is going to produce those 7,200 kilowatt hours that they're using, right? Minimum, if I want to eliminate their bill, right? What we like to do is that if they're using 7,200 kilowatt hours, we're going to design a system that is going to produce 8 or 9,000 kilowatt hours, right? Like that, it gives them that peace of mind and that certainty that we're going to eliminate every bill that they have right now with Edison. Every expense, instead of them throwing away an average of $2,000 per year, now they're actually going to get that expense and now turn it into an investment by going solar when they purchase them, right? So there's two ways of going solar. One is a lease and one is a purchase, right? So this is in a nutshell exactly how solar works. It's very simple. Again, you're now going to leverage the panels to produce your electricity. You become your own self-generating facility moving forward. And what happens is that in the event that rates are going to continue going up with your electricity provider, when you go solar, now you have a predictable bill. You lock in a rate. So whether they raise their rates to 50, 60, 70 cents per kilowatt hour, people that are proactive and go solar, they don't have to worry about that, because now they become owners of their power. They stop renting and they start owning their power, right? Awesome. So right after this, I want to touch on how solar, the roadmap when it comes to solar, right? And this is one thing that separates us from a lot of companies. We literally take a client and we take them through every step from the beginning to the end, and they don't have to do absolutely nothing, right? So one of the things that we do right away when they sign up with us and they go solar with our company, we set a site survey. A site survey, what we do is that we go measure the roof, make sure that the roof is in good standing condition. One of the things that we offer is if they need a new roof, we're able to do a bundle where they get solar and roofing combined with literally zero out of pocket. They could finance both combined with a bundle that we offer, right? So once we do the site survey, we do the measurements, we take photos, we design the system, we send that to our engineer. He does all the plan sets, right? Once the plan sets are completed, we go and pull permits, right? Other companies, you have to do pretty much everything, get the designs, pull permits. And a lot of companies, they third party the installation. One of the things that we do differently is that everything that we do is in-house. So whether it is our engineering, the people that we send for the site survey, everybody works under a company. Our technicians, they're in-house. Our electricians are in-house as well. So we're able to provide that customer experience throughout the whole process, and the customer is able to know every step of the way what's going on with their project, right? Once we do installation, then we schedule for the final inspection with the city, right? Once they go, they inspect everything, they make sure that everything's according to the plans, they sign off, and then once they sign off, we submit that letter to your electricity provider, and from there, you get to the point which is PTO, permission to operate. That's when you free up from the cost of your electricity company, and now you become owner of your electricity. You go to step number 7, which now you're free from your utility company. Now you become your own self-generating facility, right? So some of the key benefits, right? You become an owner, you stop paying, you have a predictable bill. I don't know about you guys, but I like predictability, right? I like to know what I'm paying every single month. If it's $200, I like to know that I'm gonna be paying $200 a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, right? And again, we make sure that we design a system that is gonna fit their lifestyle, where if they're not using, majority of the people that we sit down with, they're very conservative with their electricity. They don't like to turn on their AC that long because they're afraid of getting that bill, that high bill at the end of the year. And guess what? The more that you use power with your current electricity company, the more that they'll charge you. More electricity that you consume, the more that they're going to charge you per kilowatt hour. By going solar, you eliminate all that, right? You add value to your property. Now you you're in control of everything. So again, whether they raise their rates or they don't, people that are proactive, they don't have to worry about any of that. Okay, now this next step, we work with the best companies when it comes to solar panels. These two companies are ECs and Solaria, are some of the top brands in the industry, and they've been out for a very long time. And the panels that we offer, they're backed up with what I call triple 25, which is phenomenal because again, you want to make sure that you're going to have some great quality panels because they're going to be on your roof for many, many years. These panels, they last anywhere from 40 to 50 years, depending on where they're at, right? And again, they're backed up with triple 25s on parts, performance, and labor. So you don't have to worry in the event that something messes up, the system is not producing the electricity that they promise you. It guarantees production, it guarantees they cover their labor, and it guarantees if something messes up with the panels, you don't have to invest a single dime out of pocket, which is huge when it comes to panels. And you want to make sure that you have the best quality panels out there. So I have a video of about 1 minute and 38 seconds that it's kind of like an overview of the RECs that we offer. So I don't think it's gonna come out with the audio, but we'll see right now. So here's a quick video that you guys could watch. All right, so that's the video, and that's pretty much it. That's all I have for you guys. If you guys have any questions, you guys can follow me on Facebook, IG, at Jeffrey Pinzon. Our IG for our solar company is UIS Energy. Our website is uisenergy.com. If you guys have any questions, I'd love to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Wow. I'm doing a virtual clap here for you because that was a lot in such a short amount of time. And I gotta say, amazing job, Jeffrey, as always, you killed it. And I like how he just simplified it, right? And when I did the podcast with Jeffrey, he really broke everything down. That's, a longer episode that you guys can tap into. We've also shared it on Instagram. And actually, one of my clients, Tanya, who's here with us today, we'll talk about how powerful this whole networking strategy is. When I reached out to Jeffrey, because I knew I needed somebody in the solar industry to be part of my team, I asked him if he wanted to be on the podcast. He said yes. We did the podcast. Tanya messages me, which is one of my past clients and dear friend now, and our kids play together. It's super dope. We've developed this awesome relationship. She sends me a message and says, I was looking for somebody who does solar panels, but I really know experts out in the field. And so she waited for the podcast episode to go live, spoke about it, with her husband, and they decided to move forward with Jeffrey. And that to me was amazing, right? Because he was able to explain the benefits. I know that us as realtors, came across a lot of situations where solar panels have just been either misrepresented, right? Whoever they chose to work with just did not do their homework and did not show the client how to do their homework up front. When he broke it down to me about analyzing the 12-month, expenses of what you're currently paying for, so you understand where you currently stand, then that kind of, to me, was like the great takeaway. You know, I've never thought about it that way. I've handled situations where some homeowners owe on their, obviously, they're either leasing their panels, and that's also been a situation where they haven't been in a position to be able to sell because they owe those panels. Or, you know, they were getting, I couldn't understand why you would be getting a separate bill from, let's say, Edison, and then also paying your solar panels. But then talking to Jeffrey, I realized, well, whoever they spoke to did and designed those panels to give a certain amount of energy that was not efficient or sufficient enough to what the current homeowner's lifestyle was, you know, was in reality. And so, like, understanding all these little, they say that the details are in the devil is in the details, right? So it's all these little details that you've really got to take into consideration and understand that who you work with matters. He also, I like the fact that he preaches that you should purchase these solar panels, not lease them, right? Because again, going back to shifting your mindset and thinking like an investor, you want to buy them, you want to invest. This is a long-term game. And eventually, I mean, everybody should be going electric, right? Like, gas is stupid expensive. Like, what are we doing here? Let's just all have Teslas and solar panels laying out. But I just wanted to share that case study because it was a recent one, and it's just the power of network, right? I was able to help. I was happy that I was able to help Tanya, and then also connect Jeffrey. So I like to consider myself as a social connector, which is why I am grateful that he was here today and gave us the time and the space. And all of this is being recorded, Jeffrey. So kudos to you,
Awesome.
because I'll send you guys a private link. You guys can share it with your current database or current homeowners or people that you think might be interested in the service. I know that when it comes to ADUs, same thing. You want to make sure that you have somebody in the solar industry who's an expert to just tap into, right? I don't need to know it all. I just need to know who knows it all, right? And so that's part of building this whole community. And I hope that we brought a lot of value. I'm going to open it up to questions. If you guys have any questions, I think that, I mean, we covered a lot. So feel free, you know, if your brain's fried and you want to back channel me or DM me or set up a consultation separately and discuss your real estate goals or anything pertaining to ADUs, feel free to, you know, chime in and tap in with me on the DMs. A lot of what we talked about, again, is on my Instagram. So I've designed the ADU webinar to kind of correlate to my Instagram, so you can see how everything integrates and why I'm referring to this part and that episode. What does that episode have to do with this and that? And you kind of see the web of how my mind works. So I hope that you guys had a great time. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I'll leave the floor open a few more minutes, and then I'll let you guys do your thing because I know you guys are busy. I got another podcast later today at 5 with Joseph at Neo Builders. Super dope dude. He honestly, like, he does his thing. He's the king of Culver City. He does these sick ass ADU conversions, and his work, you know, the way he works, really, I admire, and I got to respect people like that in the industry. So again, I want to highlight people who are interested in working with him in Culver City. And he's also the owner of a ADU Insider blog. So he dedicates his whole time to, again, build a network, because you'd be surprised at how many people don't know what the hell they're doing out there. So make sure you vet who you're working with. Like, I can't even stress that enough. You guys think I'm crazy, but I know what I'm talking about when it comes to that. So open to any questions. Jeffrey, you covered a whole bunch, but if any of you guys, any questions, welcome. Give us your thoughts. You know, I want to bring different experts every single month. I have these webinars. So, you know, just trying to bring more information and awareness around everything. ADUs is the mission here. So I'll leave it at that. Do you guys have any questions or any closing thoughts that you guys would like to add? It is being recorded, so watch what you're saying.
Be careful what you say and how you say it, huh?
There you go. Yeah, that's it.
Now, I just want to say, Steph, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to, again, be on your platform, create some more awareness on solar. I love what I do. I'm passionate about it, as you guys can see. And I'm excited, man. By the way, man, I'm excited because tomorrow I'm going to have Stephanie come out on my podcast. So I'm super stoked. Yeah, I'm lit for that one. I can't wait to get to ask you a bunch of questions about ADU, your personal life, everything. So I'm excited for it. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, I'm super humbled that he asked me to be on his podcast. I mean, I feel like I'm still learning as I go, right? And I'm not exactly where I want to be in the space or even in life, but it's that's what it's about, like enjoying the process, right? Trusting the process, creating a network of people who uplift you. You have to have a lot of great communication skills, you know, and what it is that we do on a day-to-day basis. And our job is really just to facilitate that process between our clients and these vendors and how we can all win, you know, and make it a smooth process for everybody. I want to also acknowledge Joseph, Mario, really everybody who's on the call, Jen, Tanya, Will, Ima, she's always here every single month. I can't thank you enough. I know that you're in real estate as well, so feel free to chime in and let me know what you need help with. Joseph, I know you're at an ADU project right now. You want to tell us what it is that you're up to? What do you got going on? Give us an example of what people are doing with ADUs. Where are you at
Hey,
right
you know
now?
what? This is actually more of a. I'm live in LA. This is actually more of one of those ADUs you were saying. You know, you have to do your right due diligence as a homeowner. You have to do due diligence and check these people's work and stuff. We got this client a week and a half ago. We set our first inspection to see, because we're piggybacking off some other guys, and you know, if you kind of just could see a bit that these guys left this homeowner since December. They had to do foundation work. They just left the rebar. They didn't do the joists or the rebolting.
Wow.
I mean, my contractor's on his way. We have an inspection between 1 and 4, but he could give a much better, you know, detail. But they left their ladders. Really weird. That's weird. They left
Is that
their ladders.
a garage conversion?
Yeah, this is a garage conversion. So.
And they left the job in December?
Yeah, they left the job in December. The guy said that he had issues with family, and he brought up COVID like 6 times to the homeowner. She screenshot me the conversation, and he just kept saying, "COVID, sorry, we'll be out there next week. COVID, sorry, we'll be out there next week." Kind of
And
thing.
this is what happens,
yeah.
guys. It really does happen very often. And you know what happens too is that whatever a GC quoted you, and Joseph and I were talking about this the other day, whatever a GC quoted you 6 months ago is really not today's price, right? Like that, how DJ Khaled says, yesterday's price is not today's price.
Yeah, and it's really bad because
some people will leave you half on the job because materials up, lumber's up, everything's gone up. There's a shortage of everything. And so again, it's like who you work with matters. So are you guys gonna pretty much clean that up? Is that what you guys are looking to do?
We're working with her on the price. I mean, she signed a contract with them at 79 grand.
Exactly, and that's not.
I mean, you know, if we would have did this job and started for her, and I think they started in November, right? I think the week she said it was the week before Thanksgiving, we probably would be in the 90 to 95 range for something like this. But you know, we're gonna have to figure out the difference and stuff. We're having an intense meeting today, and you know, we should be starting to help her out this week. We should be getting our guys out here to finish this up, but she definitely has to. And then we could finish up the electric rough, the plumbing rough, and then pretty much the first stage of the rough we could finish up for her and then get her past that inspection, because she's not past the rough inspection yet or foundation.
So then how does that work? Like if you're gonna pick up a job that was halfway done, I mean, did they pulled permits, they went through the rough inspection and then they took off?
Yeah, they never passed the first inspection. They got some foundation work they had to come back and do. It was something that was dealt with the architect too. So it's definitely a horror story. You know, it's definitely a horror story. We have projects in this area where this is off of Fairfax and Melrose area. So we have 2 other projects nearby. So she saw one of my signs and gave me a call, like I said last week, and we set up an appointment to
Dude, and Joseph's a hustler. Joseph, you know, puts like signs out there and he does the door knocking. You know, what we as realtors do, he does it for ADUs. So he's killing it in what he does. Feel free to chime in with him. And see, I connect with people like him. He's been doing ADUs for 7 years, way before ADUs were even a thing. ADUs became popular about 3 years ago, really. Mario, I've also been knowing for a while. He hooks me up with all the crypto and blockchain technology, and he keeps me updated with that. So yeah, guys, I hope that all of this was very valuable information. And just like I said, this stuff really does happen, right? So making sure that you vet the people you work with. Unpermitted garages is what I'm going to talk about next month, because that seems to be the hot topic. Everybody's like, what do I do with my unpermitted garage and how do I go about it? And it's a very uncomfortable and transparent conversation to have with these current homeowners, right? Because there's homeowners that bought their house for like 80 grand, 100 grand, 200,000. Even anybody who bought within the last 5-6 years, bought at a very low price that, considering building an ADU, they don't really see like how the cost can be so high, right? Or how you have to basically knock it down or tear it down in order to rebuild it, because you've got to go through these inspections, and there isn't like X-ray vision for these city inspectors. So it's like they got to go in there, knock it down, check electrical, check plumbing, check everything. And so yeah, just bringing awareness around that. I think for the most part, I don't see a lot of success with unpermitted conversions. What about you, Joseph? I mean, how can you touch a little bit on that, and then we'll kind of wrap it up here on unpermitted ADUs? What does the process look like? Because I have a few people actually that want to convert because either the city, got on them or whatever the reason is, and they want to convert illegal space, whether that's a garage conversion or a ground up.
There's been a few, a very, very few, like maybe two out of, let's say, like probably 15 or so appointments and contracts. Two of them were cut some concrete up, tear some walls down, check for like the electric, the plumbing, just to see if everything's up to code, footings, things like that. And then the inspector, will write up a, like a pass, and basically they could get the project permitted. And it was like around 15, like about 10 to 15 grand on the homeowner. And then most of them, I believe this is an unpermitted structure. I have to remember. I have to go back to my notes, but I think this was and basically they didn't have to tear down, which is cool. I mean, this is the outside of it. They didn't have to tear down or anything like that, but they did have to, redo the footings, redo the electric, redo the plumbing. You have to connect to the front of the home now. You cannot connect to the back of the home for the plumbing. So
Exactly.
for the you have to connect to the front. So their plumbing originally was connected to the back of the house. So now we have to do our trenching all the way to the front. So there are things you have to do. And then we hear of incidents. The contractors I work with, the guy in the valley, it's contractor Victor, he tells me how some of them that he work on, you have to go down to the studs and basically not tear down, but pretty much, start all over.
Yeah. So you don't have to tear it down, but you got to do everything like if you were to redo it, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, even when I talk to people and it's just unpermitted, I'm like, you're probably going to look at either, doing some, open up some walls and some concrete for the inspector, or you're going to just have to redo everything. That's just what it is. We ran into one that was such a hazard that the inspector was basically shaking his head the whole time saying, this is a fire hazard. Whoever built this like years before.
Right.
And the homeowner was pretty much like, kind of like in tears, kind of like just like upset, like, damn, like she had a friend that was living back there. It was just plumbing, electric, and she had like a rollout bed or like what is that? Those couches that I forget the name of those couches, but she basically was just kind of living in there. But she was like, wow. So anytime, at some point it possibly could have caught on fire, and the inspector was like, yeah. So when you hear that from the inspector, it kind of, shakes the homeowners up a little bit. And there have been cases in Los Angeles where if you don't have the 45-inch, window or the escape route, or if you have bad electric, there have been issues where people have, those ADUs have been caught on fire. So.
Got it. Well, thank you guys. I really want to thank everybody again for your guys' time, energy, efforts for being here. Thank you, Jeffrey, again. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Like I said, I'm going to email you guys a link. It's a private link to my private ADU YouTube channel, because the podcasts are all there. And I'm also on Google reviews. I'd love for you guys to share the experience. If any of this was valuable, feel free to share your experience on there. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out, fam. Thank you guys. You killed it, Jeffrey.